Good afternoon, this is Matthew Lindsay with Precision Home Group here in Anchorage, Alaska. Coming to you live today to talk to you about real estate investing basics. That's right, today's Thursday, it is real estate investing basics. Today we're going to talk about how to get into your first deal. How to get in, but more importantly, how to get out of your first deal. So if you've been following me for any amount of time, if you've been watching any of my videos, my content, you'll notice that I am a big fan of bigger deals, larger deals, multifamily commercial deals that are 16 units plus. I really want to be in 20 units to pay management fees, to actually cash flow enough to have the margins to actually afford the property, that I'm not in there doing the work myself a job. Now, there is a larger burden, a larger barrier of entry for some of these larger deals. You know, you're going to have a couple $100,000, maybe a couple million for some of the much larger deals, right? And more than that for the bigger you go. So a lot of people have been asking me recently, they've been saying, hey, I understand I want to get into a bigger deal, I just can't do that. I need to get into a small deal and then use that to leverage out into bigger deals. I need a little deal to get started. Now there's several different ways to save up, to produce income, to create more income for yourself so you can get into larger deals. Getting into a small deal is one way to do that. A lot of people use their first string, their job, their business, whatever it is that they're doing to generate income for themselves, and then they learn to increase that stream, increase that revenue to be able to get into a larger deal. This is a way to get into a small deal. This would be another source of income for you and create a couple different sources so that you can save faster for that bigger deal. So this is just one way to get to that big deal. So I just want to reiterate, we're talking about small deals today, but the big picture, the big game, the end goal should be to utilize this as a stepping stone, not as the end of the day. This is where you're going to stay. You should use this as a stepping stone and then get out of it as soon as you can to get into the bigger deals, which produce more income for you. Because why are we getting into real estate? Why are we getting into multifamily real estate? The goal here is to get into it for the cash flow, right? We're not going to have that much cash flow in a small property as we would in a much larger property. So we're going to dive into this, talk about some of the different loan options. I'm not a lender, so there's disclaimers here. I can't tell you interest rates, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be different for everywhere you are located. But you'll get the general picture of how you do it, what we're doing, and how to get out of it, how to get out of that property. So today here in Anchorage, we have a lot of fourplexes. Fourplexes have been overbuilt. Residential investment properties, and residential multifamily is going to be anywhere from that duplex, triplex, and fourplex. Once you hit that 5 units, you're going to cross that bridge into the commercial world. Different lending rules apply there. So today we're just sticking to the 1 to 4 units. You can still use the residential loans, the low down payments, and different stuff you can use for a single family home. So today we're talking fourplexes. Now here in Anchorage, we have several fourplexes kind of in between the 300 to 600 range. That's a very average price for our fourplexes here. Different parts of town, different levels of renovation, different levels of care have been put into them. So you really have to get out there and walk the properties. The biggest thing that I can recommend is go walk properties. Go out there and see what's going on, see the condition, do the work yourself. Don't just take someone's advice, don't take pictures, and don't take the realtor, whoever's the listing agent. You need to go find out for yourself. So getting into numbers today, we got our whiteboard up here, a little bit dirty, but here we go. So we're talking a $450,000 purchase for a fourplex. Very common here in Anchorage. So we're just going to walk you through this. A lot of the times people are here in town are going to use a VA loan if they're able to, if they have access to the VA loan because they served or married to someone who did, or a FHA loan. FHA loan is going to be more of an owner-occupant, low down payment, typically about 3.5% down. Very good option for a lot of people if you don't have that VA, the zero down option. So with the FHA loan, which is what we're going to talk about today, it's going to be 3.5% down. So 3.5% of that $450 purchase price is going to be about that $15,750. So instead of raising a couple $100,000 or closer to that million mark to get into a bigger property, this is a much lower barrier of entry, right? 15,000 instead of a couple hundred. One thing that a lot of people, a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of first-time investors don't save up for, they don't realize, they don't know, or they just don't know, is about closing costs. There is quite a bit of closing costs with the loan. Now, here in town, a lot of times you can negotiate part of that into the deal itself. Sometimes the seller is willing to pay part of that, maybe all of it, depending on the deal itself, how long it's been on the market, the seller, whether they want to help out or not. So keep in mind and always plan for the worst case, right? So you want to make sure that you're budgeting, you are saving, you have that in mind that, hey, there's going to be some closing costs. I don't just need the down payment, I need to be able to cover the extra fees and the closing costs involved in doing the loan itself, right? And we'll go into this here in a little bit, talking about rents and stuff. You've got to have some reserves in the banks, because if you're getting into a building that's not leased out, if you're getting in and people vacate, you got to be able to cover the mortgage. So this $15,000 for the down payment, that's not the only money you need, but it is a lower barrier of entry. So with the $15,750 is going to be your down payment, 3.5% on $450. You also have the closing costs here around $12,000. It could be plus or minus. Talk to your lender about your particular loan program. That gives us a loan amount of about $434,000. So that's going to be what we're going to finance, because you have a down payment in there, right, for the $450. These are just ballpark estimates, but you're going to have about a monthly payment of about $2,500, $2,475, somewhere in there. You're going to have a much higher payment with a FHA loan because you're going to have mortgage insurance and stuff like that until you hit 20%. Once you hit that 20%, that mortgage insurance drops off. Again, talk to your lender, but it will also decrease your payment. It's a couple $100 you spend every month extra for the low down payment. So, all that being said, what we have here is a monthly debt service of $2,475. That's going to be your monthly payment for the property itself, right? So now you have this fourplex. You have the payment of $2,475. You got to fill it up, and you got to be able to, create and generate enough income off of your units in your fourplex to be able to cover debt service and make a little bit of money. Correct? That's the goal. We want cash flow. It's the profit of a business and the profit of your investment, right? That's what we're always looking for, cash flow. If it doesn't cash flow, you walk away. You don't want a property that doesn't cash flow. There's no sense in that. So we're gonna look into, hey, what are the rents on the property itself? What are some of the expenses you should look for? And does this property make sense? So right away, if you're using an FHA loan, you're going to be owner occupying that property for at least 1 year. That is one of the rules and regulations of the loan itself. So with that being said, you're only going to be able to generate income off of 3 units, right? So you better make sure that those 3 units are occupied at all times, and if they're not, get them occupied as quick as you can. There's going to be some different things on management and screening and all that kind of stuff, but that's for a later video. So today we're just talking numbers. With the 3 units, with a couple properties that we're looking at here in Anchorage, we're seeing about, on average, about $1,100 for rent per month here in town. So with that brings us to, with 3 units at $1,100, brings us to $3,300 a month. That's going to be the income generated off the property. Now this property in particular, we're talking it's probably going to be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath units. They're not going to have garages. And so, plus or minus on the conditions of the property themselves and if they have any extra additional features like that. So we'll take our $3,300, we'll subtract our $2,475, which is the debt service on the property itself, and then we'll also look into, hey, what other expenses are there on the property? Some of those expenses is going to be utilities, you know. Are you going to be able to actually charge that back to the tenants themselves? Are they individually metered for electric? Is it natural gas, you know, water, sewer, all these kinds of things you got to look into and see, hey, what expenses can I put back on my renters, on my tenants, or do I need to take those as the property owner? So on the several properties, you know, I'm just taking an average of all these properties. You know, a lot of times we're going to have about $450 per month. Pretty low, honestly, for utilities here in Anchorage. So when we take the $3,300, that's going to be our rental income minus our debt service, the $2,475, and $450 for utilities. That leaves us with $375 per month. $375 per month to you, the owner, for your fourplex. Now, $375 is not that much money. Do you think that you could go do something else every month and generate an extra $375 per month? I know that I can. I know that in sales I can go, you know, make some more calls, set some more appointments, close some deals to make an extra $375 per month. However, if you're not in a income producing, if you're not in a, you know, a organization, a job where you can create and generate your own income and control that, if you're in a very set and regimented income structure, this may work for you and this may look attractive to you to add that extra income to you. Also, you'll be paying down the equity, you'll be paying down the mortgage of the property, and with that being said, you'll start building that equity in there. Also, you playing the appreciation game. So, what I wanted to show with you guys with this video is that, hey, this is little money. This is little money, right? Little money to get in, the $15,000 down payment. We talked about the additional fees and closing costs. But it's also little money for the income. So what we want to do is we want to get into, you know, your first deal. You want to get into it, but you also want to get out. You want to strategically plan a way to get out of your deal, out of your first, maybe second property, and be able to leverage that money into a bigger deal. If the goal is just to get fourplex, duplex, triplex, fourplex, and a bunch of different properties, you're going to have small margins on all these different properties. The best idea is to get rid of these properties and actually take that, convert it, and leverage it into one bigger deal, whereas you can take the money, you have margin, you have the cash flow to pay a management company to do it. I'm not fixing toilets, I'm not plowing my own streets, I'm not shoveling, and I'm not mowing, you know, because with $375, you're not going to necessarily have the income to go do all those things and manage the property, right? You got to do it yourself. You bought a job. So that has been how to get into your first deal. Kind of just a quick outline of expenses, just a quick outline of what it would take, what it would look like to get in your first deal. If you have any other questions, I would love to talk to you. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. My number here is 907-302-1011. Feel free to shoot me a call or text anytime, and I'd love to talk to you guys more about this. We're going to have a couple more videos here talking about property management and about getting out of your first couple deals and putting that into your first big deal. So that's going to be coming up. Thursdays are Real Estate Investing Basics. Thank you very much.